The GOP, the Grand Old Party, the Republican Party, is going to lose the 2024 election. And I'll tell you why. Every 4 years, the Republican Party gets together and they discuss who's the most conservative. They start debating. They all talk about who loves Reagan more, who's the most conservative, who's the most patriotic, and they appeal to conservative audiences. But here's the problem. It's not the Republican Party or the Democratic Party in America to decide who becomes president. It's the independents. And nobody is taking the independents into consideration. Lately, the Republican Party has lost many elections, not just presidential, but we're talking about government elections. We're talking about House and Senate, because they keep trying to appeal to other conservatives. And they forget who wins elections. Whoever gains the trust and support of independent voters. Not leftists, not right-wingers, but independent voters who are more politically neutral. So, the GOP has an ace up their sleeve, and they're not going to use it. And that ace is Vivek. But they're not going to elect him, because he's not the stereotypical, I love my America, and America's number one, and we got to go bomb these people. He ain't like that. All right? He would be, honestly, a great president for this day and age, knowing that he was a CEO of a tech company. He understands technology. And if you want to understand the digital age, if you want a president that understands the digital age, you got to elect someone who's been knee deep into that. I don't think any of the other candidates have even come close to the experience that he has when it comes to technology. But obviously, he's not going to get elected. And half if not more than half, the conservative base is still drinking the Trump Kool-Aid. They think he's going to get reelected. Here's the thing. Let's say he wins the GOP candidacy. You have to understand something. Most independents don't like Trump. Okay? Most independents do not like him. Let's look back at the 2016 election. He didn't even win the popular vote. Okay? Yes, a lot of conservatives got together. A lot of folks from rural towns got together and they said, oh, let's give this a try. 2020. I know some folks still don't believe this, but he did not win the election. And let's say, I'll play devil's advocate. Let's say he did win the election. Still, it was too close for comfort. I don't believe he did, but let's just pretend that he did. The numbers were too close. And he was running against Joe Biden, who even at that time was starting to lose his head. Okay? And now we're going to have an election that is going to be one of the easiest elections for the Republicans to win, but they're not going to win it because whatever candidate they choose is going to be some ultra right-wing conservative, and most independents don't like that. The Democrats understand. They're not going to choose their most left-leaning candidate, most left-leaning candidate. They're not going to choose Bernie Sanders type. They're not going to choose someone who says he's a socialist. They're not going to choose anything like that. They're going to choose somebody who's going to be more center wing, who's going to be more politically centered, and maybe even somewhat center right. And they're going to pick someone who's going to feel safe for independent voters, not someone who's going to be very radical. But the GOP needs to get into that program. They need to understand that not everyone is a far right leaning conservative. Not everyone's going to get behind that. And I've even spoken with Democrats who aren't super, what would you say? They're not radical. They're not, they mostly vote Democrat, but they've told me in the past, if a cool guy runs for the GOP, meaning somebody who's not far right, somebody who's a bit more stable, and they think he'd be a good president, they'd vote for him. You know what I'm saying? Not only do you have to appeal to independents, but you can appeal to more center wing leaning Democrats who aren't radicals. And the same thing happened. It's like deja vu. Same thing happened in 2012. Ron Paul was receiving an insane amount of support from independents. Crazy amount of support from independents. But the GOP decided to pick an establishment candidate. And what happened? They lost. Okay? People who were disillusioned with Obama were voting for Ron Paul. They were signing up for the GOP primary vote even though they've never voted Republican in their life, just to vote for Ron Paul. But the Republican Party turned a blind eye on that. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about the Republicans because they're going to vote Republican no matter what. You have to worry about the independents. But it's not going to happen. Okay? So anyway, this is going to be a two-part series regarding what the Republican Party needs to do to win. And the second part would have been what the Democratic Party needs to do to win. But I'm not going to do that because I would touch up on some subjects that may be a little sensitive, and I don't want to get banned on YouTube. So anyway, take it or leave it. This is my advice. Bye-bye.